So this car is the first in a new series for us that we're very excited about. We're calling it Fast Blasts. It's for those older cars or interesting cars or one-off cars or tuned cars that we really have always wanted to put on the show.
And there's no better car to do it in than this one. It's an 89 Porsche 944 Turbo. Every 944 that I've driven has never been stock. I mean, you just sort of have to tune these cars. Getting into the 944, I'm sort of back in this golden era of good design, but primarily driven by good proportions. Just look at this thing. It still looks great. I think designers still reference this car for proportion.
The interior on this car, it's a 25-year-old car. You know, considering that, it's obviously dated, but it's not bad. It is late 80s Porsche. I mean, you've got the rectangle centered steering wheel. The seats, of course, are excellent. It reminds me a lot of the late 80s 911s that we drove because, of course, it's the same family.
The owner bought it for $8,200. He's put about almost $4,000 into it, and it's not his daily, it's not every day, but in the summer months, it is going to be the car he drives all the time, and why not? Just about every car I've driven that is this recipe, including the FRS, feels bigger, and that's because of the high cowl, this high IP right here. This is low, which means great visibility. There's so many cars that Todd and I drive that are compromised in one way or the other in terms of visibility.
Great thing about this car is everything's just analog and easy. It just has a really inviting feel about it. 89 was kind of the tail end of the Porsche 944 lineup. And at that point, the car had about 250 horsepower, but not this one. The owner of this car is Parker, and he hasn't had the car very long. I mean, he's kind of getting started with what he wants this car to be.
He estimates 280 at the rear wheels. He's running 15 or 16 pounds of boost, which is a fair amount. This is what this car needed. It's so fascinating to see when the boost comes on. And we've been told the boost comes on right about 3,000, but I'm not feeling it till about 4.
Yeah, at 4,000, this car wakes up big time. Next 2,000 RPMs goes by in a shot. This has grunt. 300 horsepower in this car is a lot. It doesn't feel unusable. It doesn't feel like you're never going to get into it, but when you do, it explodes.
This car's got balls. Oh, man. That's impressive. I'm not going to admit how fast I was going up that hill, but this car has just held its own against a 335 Z4.
And it's just easy. This car prefers going fast. This is my conclusion. This 944 would rather go, yep, very quick. Very quick is the answer. Down to this corner. Nice heel toe placement. Oh, I can't help but like this car. One of the things about the 944 that isn't as great as I would like is actually the steering. It is informative. It tells you everything that's going on. The problem with it is that it's fairly slow. The ratio itself is slow. There's a lot of steering angle required to make the car do what you want. Now, some guys on the forums will try to get tighter steering racks in it. Some people even try to go for a manual steering rack. I'm not really sure why you need that because this version is actually pretty great. But it isn't as tight as I would like.
The steering feels a little numb or dull right at the initial turn in here. But that doesn't mean there's not a lot of road feedback here. You know what the handling, the steering feel reminds me of? It's actually the NSX. The reason is because it's not sharp and frantic like, say, a WRX STI. You're actually not really going to mind because it just holds the line.
Let's see. That's a lot of steering angle for this corner. But on the backside, foot in it. There she goes. That is great. Settles so well on the power. I think this should have some pretty aggressive tires on it. I feel like it's a little bit under-tired for what the chassis can handle.
It's so mechanical and solid. Everything you do in this car has to be very deliberate. It will do what you ask, but you've got to know the car and you've got to know exactly what you want the car to do.
There's also been some suspension tuning here. The Koni shocks have been replaced, and also the springs are significantly stiffer. Not terribly so, but it's noticeable. The result is a ride that's fairly harsh. I mean, this is an aggressive car. It doesn't mean it feels bad, but you do feel everything. And I'm kind of surprised that it rolls as much as it does, considering how aggressive this suspension is.
He's got yellow Konis on it, and it just absolutely is flat in the corners. It's just flat to the earth.
It's not bad, please don't get me wrong. This is not a rollover car by any means, but it has a fairly aggressive, you can see me bouncing, fairly aggressive stiff suspension in normal situations when you're just going straight. So once I get into a corner, I'm just surprised by the amount of roll. That body roll and the steering amount are the two surprises here.
You think you could spend, maybe 15 grand, something like that, get a newer car, more modern. But even if you wanted to take it to the level where he's got this car, I'd almost rather take the 944. You didn't invest a whole lot up front, but you get this feeling every time you drive it. And I guarantee you people are going to say, that's still a cool car.
Come on, buy yourself a turbo for 6 or 7 grand. I mean, it'd be more beat down than this. You could buy the prior version with 220 horsepower and just tune that a little bit. For $10,000, you could have one heck of a track car.
This car has seriously got me thinking about just looking around, just browsing to see what's out there, what's for sale, because I like it a lot.
I'd go really aggressive tires with this suspension setup and take it to the track a lot. That's what I would do. This is a fun way to start this Fast Blast series. We'll be doing a lot of these. You'll see a lot of random people's cars. Maybe you'll see your car on one of these. They're standalone pieces, just one car by itself. We're not worried about comparing these to anything. This will be the place to put those.